On a rainy Friday evening in the bustling city of Denver, a young black woman named Cassandra was making her way home from a late shift at the hospital. She was a nurse, known for her kindness and dedication. Every night, she walked the same path to the bus stop, her mind often drifting as she thought about the day's patients and the lives she helped touch. Tonight, however, was different. Cassandra had no idea that fate was about to test her strength in ways she never imagined. As she reached a narrow alley shortcut, the silence was broken by a loud, gruff voice. She turned and saw a tall man, mid-50s, with piercing blue eyes and an aggressive stance. She didn't recognize him, but there was a distinct look in his eyes, something she had seen before. The look of someone who judged her for her skin color before anything else. "Hey, you! Think you're something, don't you?" he sneered, his voice laced with contempt. Cassandra froze, realizing she was alone. She could feel the weight of his stare on her, a look she had felt all too often. But tonight was different. Tonight she was exhausted, tired of biting her tongue, tired of pretending she didn't hear the murmurs and the whispers, the lingering glances of judgment. She met his gaze, her face calm, her eyes steady. "I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to get home," she said, her voice steady but firm. But he wouldn't relent. "Trouble? You think walking around like you own the place isn't trouble?" He took a step closer. "You people always think you can take what doesn't belong to you." Cassandra felt a surge of anger, but she kept it in check. She had learned from her mother and her grandmother before her that keeping calm was often the best defense in situations like this. But the man wasn't interested in backing down. Without warning, he lashed out, pushing her with such force that she stumbled back, hitting her shoulder against the cold, wet brick wall. Pain flared up her arm, but it was the shock that left her momentarily speechless. In that instant, everything inside her snapped. For years, she had held back, endured the subtle slights, the jokes, the looks that screamed disdain. Tonight, something inside her refused to stay silent any longer. She steadied herself and looked him dead in the eyes. "You don't get to do that. Not to me, not tonight." The man's smirk faltered, just slightly, at the strength in her voice. But he quickly covered it with a sneer, mocking her as he stepped forward. "And what are you going to do about it?" Cassandra's eyes didn't waver. She didn't need to shout or scream. In that quiet, fierce gaze, she communicated a lifetime of resilience and defiance. She remembered the self-defense classes her brother had insisted she take when she first moved to the city. Just in case, he had said. And here it was, the case he had feared. The man lunged again, this time trying to grab her arm. But Cassandra was ready. She sidestepped, and with a swift motion, brought her knee up, catching him in his abdomen. He doubled over, gasping, but the fury in his eyes blazed even brighter. "Oh, you're gonna regret that," he spat, lunging at her once more. But Cassandra was faster. She blocked his advance and, with a practiced move, twisted his arm behind his back, forcing him to kneel. A few people had gathered at the entrance of the alley, drawn by the noise. Their eyes widened as they saw the scene unfold. This young woman, standing strong, her expression a mix of anger and resolve, while this man, who had started out so confident, was now struggling in her grip. But Cassandra wasn't done. She knew that in situations like this, silence and letting go was often mistaken for acceptance. And she wasn't going to let this man or anyone else think she would accept this kind of treatment. "You think you can push people around because of what they look like?" Her voice was clear, loud enough for the bystanders to hear. "You think I should stay quiet? That I should take whatever you dish out? Not tonight." One of the bystanders, a young woman with a phone in hand, had started recording, catching every word, every defiant look. The man struggled, his face twisted in rage and humiliation as he realized what was happening. He had come into this, confident and cruel, but now, faced with the unwavering strength of this young woman, his facade was crumbling. I didn't mean to," he stammered, but the words rang hollow. "You didn't mean to what? Show the world who you really are?" Cassandra replied, her voice calm yet piercing. "Well, now they know." The police arrived within minutes, alerted by one of the onlookers. As they approached, Cassandra released him, but not before she met his eyes one last time. "Remember this night, because I'll remember it too." The man was led away in handcuffs, his face red with shame and fury. But Cassandra stood tall, her shoulders back, her spirit unbroken. In the days that followed, the video taken by the young bystander went viral, sparking a citywide conversation about the quiet, persistent racism that many tried to ignore. Cassandra found herself at the center of this storm, her story a rallying cry for others who had endured similar moments. Her face became a symbol of resilience, her actions a reminder that sometimes fighting back was the only option. And as for Cassandra, she walked that same path to the bus stop every night, but with a new sense of pride, knowing that she had faced down her fears and made a difference, not just for herself, but for everyone watching. In the days following her encounter, Cassandra became something of a local hero, though she never sought the spotlight. She received letters and messages from people across the city, from young girls who saw her as a role model, to older folks who thanked her for standing up for the dignity they had often felt robbed of. Her story reached community leaders, schools, and even city officials who invited her to speak at local gatherings. At first, Cassandra hesitated. She was a nurse, not a public speaker, and part of her wanted to leave the whole ordeal behind. But as the days went on, she realized that this was bigger than her. She had an opportunity not just to heal patients in a hospital, but to heal her community in a way that words and stories could only accomplish. She agreed to speak, addressing a packed audience at a community event organized in her honor. As she stepped onto the stage, she felt a rush of nerves, but also a calm confidence. She took a deep breath and looked out at the crowd, young and old, people of all races and backgrounds, some who had come to hear her story and others who had lived through similar moments themselves. "I didn't plan for that night to go the way it did," Cassandra began, her voice steady. "But I realized, as I stood there facing someone who tried to make me feel small, that I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every person who's ever been made to feel like they don't belong, like their voice doesn't matter." The room was silent, every person captivated as Cassandra continued. She shared her story, but she also shared her hope that one day the world would be a place where no one would have to stand up against such hatred, where people could live side by side in mutual respect. At the end of her speech, the crowd rose in a standing ovation, applause echoing throughout the hall. Tears filled Cassandra's eyes as she took in the sight of hundreds of people standing with her, united in a shared belief in justice, dignity, and respect. The man who had attacked her faced legal consequences, and as the court proceedings unfolded, Cassandra's story continued to shine a light on the everyday acts of courage and resilience happening all around. She returned to her work at the hospital, but now with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that her strength, her voice had left an impact, a ripple effect that would inspire others to stand up, speak out, and never let anyone make them feel small. And as she walked home each night, passing by the place where it all began, she felt a quiet pride. She had faced down hatred and emerged stronger, leaving behind a legacy of courage, kindness, and unbreakable resolve. Cassandra's story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength we all carry within us. Her courage inspired an entire community, showing us that when we stand up against hatred, we help build a better world for everyone. If this story moved you and you want to hear more stories of resilience, justice, and courage, please consider subscribing to our channel. By joining our community, you'll be supporting these impactful narratives, and you'll be the first to know when new stories are shared. Thank you for watching, and remember, together we can make a difference. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.